Salve, my name is Geza Frank. I'm a musician, reenactor, and officer in the militia segment of the Austrian army. Welcome to my 14-day experiment, where I'm going to wear the armor of a Roman repentant soldier of the 4th century AD for 10 to 12 hours a day while eating Roman combat rations. All this is going to culminate in me scaling a 2,300 meter high mountain in full Roman combat gear.
From the mountain first day, and the weather was absolutely bad. The conditions were pretty much the worst case conditions that I've pictured. It was quite warm, there was a lot of snow, and that snow started to melt, and this wet slush of the snow is basically what drenches historic equipment the fastest. With colder snow, colder conditions, and basically drier snow, because the wet snow it surrounds your equipment all the time and melts on its surface, and it's just as if you're going through heavy rain. You can treat your shoes with all the fat and butter that you want. You can treat your shoes with everything. You can have all the straw you want in your shoes. The wetness will come through. And the same for your cloaks, even with cloaks from thick wool treated with linoleum, they will get wet. So under these conditions there is just one thing: get in fast, get out fast. Especially don't spend so much time in physical effort there. So basically we had the worst conditions possible, because the deep snow that was really like hip deep, even sometimes I broke into the snow until my belly. It's almost impossible to get out of that. You have to crawl through the snow. If you don't have any snowshoes, there's only one way. You can use either your shield or your spear. You just anchor your spear in front of you in the snow, like flat, not as a pike, but like flat, and you just create more surface, and then you can basically crawl out of the hole that you sunk into, and you can make some meters like that. But it's extremely exhausting, especially with a shield on your back, with high winds, and with all the weight of the armor. So for even just 50 meters, you almost need like half an hour or more, and it's just very, very exhausting. So we had to abandon walking up the peak because we didn't even make it 50 meters up. It was just, we saw it doesn't make any sense to go on. Everybody was getting wet, even the camera crew that was with me that had modern equipment. I was getting drenched after a while. I mean, the stuff held out longer than I expected. It's only about after 4 hours that I felt that the straw that I have in my shoes is wet, and my socks were getting wet, and that especially the lower fringes of my cloak were completely wet as well. Some of the side effects of this expedition were, of course, that my armor started to rust. This was to be expected. That's, of course, no problem, no biggie. And if you wear chainmail regularly, it cleans itself, basically. When I got this chainmail from Germany, it has 6mm riveted rings, alternated riveted with flat round rings, and it was basically sort of blackish. There was some sort of weird coating or whatever it was, some surface thing, and now it's not anymore because I wore it for 14 days every day, doing exercises, moving a lot in it. So all this black stuff that I was complaining about for the last 2 weeks that I had everywhere, that's basically this coating or whatever it was that came off, or this residue from oil or whatever it is. Now the chainmail is kind of quite polished from all the moving and shines much more. You can really see the metal color as such. And by now wearing it again for the next few days until I can really scale the mountain, I think also the rust will disappear. Of course, I can treat it also additionally with oil, which I will do. But for now, I want to see how much the rust that I gathered today will disappear just by wearing the chainmail. We're here at the night before my second attempt. We'll try a different mountain now, because here in this valley where I partially grew up, where I know the mountains quite well, the snow this winter is really a lot. Just the last 2 days we had temperatures of around 0 to 3 degrees, which is exactly the type of weather that's bad for historic equipment, or for equipment in general. And now we are at minus 11 degrees. Everything is really frozen. The snow is quite nice to walk through. It's very cold. However, it's not so deteriorating for the material. And with some straw in the shoes, I think the shoes would stay also quite dry, and my feet would be nice and warm. It's quite a beautiful night out here. The moon is shining through a thin layer of mist. I'm standing in the valley here, flanked by mountains in the southern Alps in the former province of Noricum Mediterraneum, as it was called in the 4th century. And everything is white. Very nice, very smooth surfaces everywhere. All the trees are coated in white. The whole landscape just looks very otherworldly and ghostly. It's very calm, there's almost no wind. And I'm kind of looking forward to what tomorrow brings. Tomorrow will be very cold as well,
with temperatures to -10, -11 degrees to be expected. On the summit, probably more, maybe around 15 minus. We'll see. Maybe we get to the summit, maybe we don't. In this entire area it snowed quite a lot, so we are not entirely sure if we will succeed also tomorrow. Well, this whole experiment, these 14 days are slowly nearing their end. I hope with the climax. I hope to stand on top of the mountain tomorrow. Not just to prove the world something. I want to prove something to myself, of course. Don't really care about what the world thinks of me, if I can do this, climb the mountain or not. Because, yeah, it's ultimately just a question of fitness. If I can do this or not depends more on the fitness than it depends on my equipment. So far, that I know already. So for me, this is now more like a fitness challenge, and just something, a nice end to this experiment, something nice to look forward to. Here's a little anecdote of how this entire idea of running around in the mountains in winter in Roman Armour came about. I was on the very top of the mountain that I'm going to attempt to scale tomorrow in 2018, but in military clothing with a friend. In fact, the very same friend that's coming with me tomorrow in order to film. And I posted a picture from the summit, and it looked quite spectacular. A good friend of mine from reenactment circles commented underneath and said, well, this looks very impressive, but I would be really impressed if you went up there in Roman gear. So here I am. At the time I wrote challenge accepted, and now we will see if I get up there tomorrow. Besides that, I'm also looking forward to the experience because I like to feel nature intensely through the experience of wearing historical clothes and being just that tad more exposed. And I like to feel history in a way intensely through exposing myself to the elements in historic clothing. It's just always more joy for me to be in nature and to be in extremes when I'm wearing historical clothing, when I feel some sort of connection to the past. Because ultimately it gives me also some perspective for the future. Perspective it gives me is that it's also okay to take a step back in order to take actually a step forward. It's okay to dream of other states of mind, maybe more archaic ones, older ones, of a different world. All I want to maybe say is it's okay to dress up and to want to feel like getting a small part of a different world, of a world that maybe harbors some things that we are dearly missing today, of a world that is okay with being slower, of a world that is okay with being quieter, and of a world especially where people needed each other more, and where you had the feeling of really belonging to a community, a family that held a higher place than it does currently in Western society. Your surroundings, your place in society. Of course, there's advantage in the social flexibility that we have today in certain regards, but it doesn't look like social mobility is the trend of the future. So of course we sometimes retreat into a world where social mobility depends just on us.